Welcome, everybody. Well, I'm happy to be here once again with you all. Love coming back to Unity Radiant Light. Today's message is called Time to Celebrate Ourselves. I just want to ask you a quick question. How often do you go around thinking, hey, how can I celebrate me today? I have to be honest with you. I don't often think about celebrating myself very often. And I have to kind of be reminded of that. And how this all came about was I was asked to lead a book study for Unity of Greater Hartford, which is going to start at the end of April on Tuesday evenings for about 5 weeks. And Reverend Christine asked me to lead a book study on the book by Eric Butterworth called Celebrate Yourself. And so I started reading the book, of course, and I the first essay is called Celebrate Yourself, and the book is called Celebrate Yourself. And I thought, gosh, I don't really focus on doing that very often. I don't know about you. Maybe you do, but um, it seems to me that it might be a little difficult, at least for me, to celebrate me. I didn't grow up in a household where we were talking much about, hey, celebrate yourself. I grew up in a household where it was stay humble, don't brag, keep quiet, just don't go around shouting from the rooftops. And so this idea of celebrating self really struck a nerve with me in a good way. And so I want to share some ideas with you today about it. And, wherever it takes you, it takes you. Not sure it would be easy to do, but who knows? Maybe we can work on it together. So the first thing I did to prepare for this talk was I went online, and I usually look for a couple of different quotes just to see, I don't know, what quotes there are out there that tie into the subject that I'm going to talk about. And so I found a quote from Oprah Winfrey that says, "The more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate." Well, that makes sense, right? The more I'm grateful for, the more I find to be grateful for. That just seems to be the way it works. And we know why that works that way, because in Unity, we hear about the law of mind action. And if you're an LUT, Joe knows this already. The law of mind action says that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So if I'm starting to see things that I'm grateful for, then all of a sudden I'm noticing more and more and more. If you're looking to buy a new car and you want a yellow car, all of a sudden you're going to start seeing every single car on the road looks yellow to you. It just seems to be the way it works. So the same is true here with Oprah's quote: "The more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate." Okay, that makes sense. I found another one from Maddie Stepanek, who says, "We all have life storms, and when we get through the rough times and we recover from them, we should celebrate that we got through it." Okay. You know what I didn't find easily? Now, I didn't spend hours and hours looking, but I did not see any quotes really that really talked about celebrating us, right? They celebrate a life or celebrate an accomplishment, but not us as a being, right? And I found that interesting. And I thought, I wonder why. What is the challenge with this idea of celebrating self? What's holding us back from that? And I think, this is my personal opinion, having just started to dive into this topic, I think that it has to do with human thoughts, right? Not my higher level thoughts, not when I'm in meditation and I'm consciously aware of the presence of God in my life, but when I'm doing my everyday things and I'm living from a more human consciousness, I think those thoughts really get in my way. So The book itself by Eric Butterworth, in the introduction, he says that the book is composed of essays covering a wide variety of human needs, and it's filled with ideas to challenge our minds. Okay. I love a good challenge. I learned that from the very beginning in Unity, right? Take everything you read, take it with a grain of salt, and then question it and explore it and wonder about it, and then see where you land. Um, he says it's filled with ideas to challenge the mind and which will help you you'll reassemble these ideas in your mind as you read creatively. That's an interesting way of putting it. I've never heard of reading something creatively. So I went along further in the introduction, and he talks about, we hear about in the Bible, the Gospel of Luke and the Gospel of Mark and the Gospel of this one and the Gospel of that one. And he's saying, no, it's the Gospel according to us. Well, why is that? We're looking to see what can awaken us, right? In anything that we read, whether it's a Bible story or a book like Eric Butterworth's Celebrate Yourself, whatever it is, we take the ideas that we read and we filter it through our own thinking. So everything we come up with has to be the gospel according to us. Pretty interesting, huh? Right? I bet you if all of us, how many are there today? There's 12 of us on here online today. I bet if all of us took a passage or a story from the Bible and we all read it, we would all walk away with something different, right? And if we talked about it, we would come up with different ideas and different viewpoints, which is wonderful. And that's what he's talking about when he says the gospel according to who? It's really according to us, because we're putting it through our own filters. The first essay in the book is entitled Celebrate Yourself. And he talks about how difficult it can be to define the infinite power that lives within us. Have you ever tried to describe it to someone? Have you ever tried to explain to someone who doesn't know anything about Unity, right? Why you come to Unity, right? And you sit there and you just, well, I have this power within me, and how do you describe divinity? Very, very difficult to do. And you know what I found in the book? He says, don't wait to find the definition. Just use it. Just use the infinite power, right? If I don't know how to define electricity, I'm not going to not use electricity till I know how to define it. So the same thing is true with this infinite power that's within us. Just use it. There will be words that come to us to describe it. I've had this conversation with many people, and I always feel like I fall a little bit short of expressing exactly how amazing it is once we tune into the fact that we are always connected to this divine power that never goes away. Right? Like, how magnificent is that? And how do I put that into words and get people to understand it? It's very, very challenging to do so. You know, the word celebrate means to honor something, right? To honor, sometimes we have holidays, so we're honoring veterans, or we're honoring those who have passed in the armed services, or we're honoring Independence Day or an anniversary, to give special recognition to something, right? But how do we celebrate self? Should we celebrate self, or is that too egotistical, right? I've got a couple of friends, and I am sure that if I talk to them about this, I don't think I could get them to a Unity service, so they probably wouldn't hear the talk officially. But if I could talk to them about this topic, I think that they would tell me that I would have a big head, right? Too big of an ego I don't need to be celebrated. I need to humble myself. And I don't think that I agree anymore. I think that celebrating self is a joyous part of recognizing how resilient we can be, how helpful we can be when we help one person, it may have changed their lives forever, right? How many times have we downplayed it and go, oh, I just did this one. I didn't do that much. There's nothing wrong with celebrating self because that's what motivates us to move forward, to celebrate how we got insight into a situation, how we made a success out of a seeming failure, all of that stuff. I'm here to tell you today it's okay to celebrate you. I want you to think about this week. I want you to consider, do I celebrate me? Am I willing to celebrate me? Can I celebrate me? I think you can. There's a celebration consciousness that Eric Butterworth talks about in his book, and it's there is within us is the unborn possibility of limitless life, unborn possibility. So the more I am willing to celebrate myself, the more potential there is for me to birth more of that unlimited possibility, right? It kind of goes hand in hand. And going back to the law of mind action, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. The more I'm celebrating myself, the easier it gets to celebrate self. And I'm going to say to you that when I'm celebrating self, I'm out there touching lives left and right because I am willing to help more. I am willing to extend my love more. I am willing to be more compassionate. I am willing to hold people in prayer more. I'm not yelling in the car when they cut me off, that kind of thing. I often joke about that, right? When I'm in a good spiritual headspace, driving is much easier, right? All right. So I want to talk just real quickly about a celebration. Uh, I was thinking about Bible stories and celebrations. And I thought about the story about the prodigal son. And some of you may or may not know the story. So, in general, it's a story about a father with two sons. The father's very rich. One son decides that he wants to take his inheritance ahead of time and he wants to go off and play, right? And the other son stays home and he's working for the father and he's doing everything right, so to speak. He's doing what he's supposed to do as an obedient son. And the other one is off playing and gallivanting and partying until he runs out of money, he hits bad times, and he ends up poorer than the worst of them, the poorest of the poor, so to speak. And he ends up coming home to beg his father to please treat me like a servant so I can at least survive. And instead, his father tells the servants, celebrate, start getting ready. We're going to have a party. We are going to have a celebration. But my son is home, right? How do you think the other son felt? Yeah, not so good. He wasn't happy. He's like, I did everything I was supposed to do. And yet you're bringing out the best robes, the rings, the shoes, the fatted calf. We all have heard about the fatted calf that the father brings out. Not all of us have heard of it, but that was part of the story. My father never did that for me. And the father tells the son who had stayed at home all of those years, he said, son, all of this is yours. But your brother, he left and now he's back. And I'm not gonna not celebrate that. Right. He's so thrilled that his son has returned. And it's a huge celebration, huge celebration. And so I went to truthunity.net because, I go down rabbit holes all the time when I'm preparing for talks, right? And so I went to truthunity.net, and the story in the Gospel of Luke, it's chapter 15 and it's 22 through 24. The best robe mentioned in there represents a new consciousness. The ring represents divine love. The shoes represent the understanding with thoughts of, the clothing represents the understanding with thoughts of the right relation of mind and substance. And the fatted calf represents the rich life of the natural man. When you take all of those verses together, they symbolize the joy in the hierarchy of heaven. And we all know that in unity, and if you don't know, you will after this, heaven is within. The kingdom of heaven is within us already. We just have to become aware of it. We just have to remember it. In today's world, with the human chaos that is going on all around us every single day, with all of the news headlines hitting us left and right, all of that stuff, it is very easy to forget that the kingdom of heaven is within and that we have access to it right here, right now. So that's just one example of the stories in the Bible about a celebration. But again, this is an example of a story of a celebration of another person's return. It's like a celebration of an event. I want us to take it one step further and celebrate us, right? I have told you that I am a life coach as well. I've been a life coach before I became a Unity minister. Um, and I've worked a lot with people who are recovering from addiction of one sort or another, right? Um, this whole idea of celebrating self is very, very difficult for people recovering from addiction. It's difficult for most of us. Let me be honest about that. But when it comes to people who are trying to get clean and sober, there is a lot of shame that is involved with the behavior that they exhibited as they were under the influence, right? So it's very hard to get across to them that it's okay to celebrate themselves, right? The fact that someone is an addict or an alcoholic and they don't drink or drug in a particular 24-hour period, I can't even begin to tell you how miraculous that is. If you're an addict and you can get through a day without using, it is beyond success because there are so many things that are against you when you cross that invisible line and become addicted to whatever substance you're addicted to, or sex, or gambling, or shopping, or whatever it is. Once you cross that line and you can't stop, it is very difficult to find your way out of that hamster wheel, right? It is okay to celebrate every single success that you have, every single one. Every single one. I can't say that enough. You need to know that you've done good, right? You need to acknowledge that you did good. So tough. I want to start a trend. I want us all to start celebrating ourselves more. You do some of that in your good news at the beginning of the service here at Unity Radiant Light, right? You share your good news with people. But it doesn't even have to be on a public level, my friends. It can be privately that you celebrate. Yeah, you know what? I may have messed up that whole project at work, but I didn't pick up a drink or a drug today. and I'll fix things at work tomorrow. I'll do my best. I will always do my best, but I did something right today. I did something right today. Acknowledge that. Give yourself that message so you can continue those thoughts held in mind, produce after their kind. Okay. I want to go back to the introduction that I shared with you about Eric Butterworth's book, because this really caught my attention. That part about reading creatively, what does that mean to you? To me, it brings up this idea of being open to new ideas, to open my mind and my heart, willingly ready to consider all possibilities, right? Even to consider I might be wrong in some cases. What? Wrong? But to keep my mind and heart open so that I can think about things in a new way. That's what I think of when I think of that phrase, read creatively. So here's what we're going to do. And you're certainly welcome to join if you'd like to. Starting Tuesday, April 25th, I think it's from 6:30 to 8, not positive about that, but through Unity of Greater Hartford, we're going to do a Zoom book study. And I'm going to lead it probably in a way that you're not used to. The book is going to be Celebrate Yourself by Eric Butterworth. And what we're going to do is I'm going to pick certain essays from it, and we're going to read out loud during the Zoom meeting, 2 paragraphs at a time. And then we're going to discuss if something comes up for someone in the class. And if nobody really has anything to say about those 2 particular paragraphs, then we'll read the next 2. I did this book study at Unity of Central Massachusetts. I did this format at Unity of Central Massachusetts, and it worked really well. The challenge is going to be for people to accept that we don't know how many essays we're going to get through in this book in 5 weeks. Because we could hit 2 paragraphs that cause 30 minutes worth of conversation. Or we could hit 2 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs, 6 paragraphs, where nobody really has a lot to say. So there is no way to predict how many essays we're going to get through. And I just love that. I think that's awesome that we could just leave it up in the air, not worry about it, and just go for it, right? In the moment, whoever's there, if you don't have the book, you're still going to hear what was in the book because we're going to read it out loud. We'll have volunteers and they'll just do 2 paragraphs at a time. I'm really excited about it. It took us a long time to get through a couple of books at UCM, and it was awesome. Like, it took us maybe 8 weeks to get to chapter 1 on one book because we started with the introduction, and it was wonderful. You know why? Because in the moment we invited Spirit to speak through us, and you never know where the conversation will go. So there isn't any real agenda. We're going to see what's going on with us in those moments on those Tuesday evenings. And I'm very excited about that. If you are interested, you can go to unityhartford.org and you can register through there. And who knows, maybe I'll do another book study in the future and we'll do that together for another book. We'll see what happens. What's important is that you don't have to agree with anything you read. And that goes for anything you're looking into. You don't have to agree with any of it. I'm just asking you to learn how to question and wonder and ponder and meditate on and see where you go with the ideas that come to you in these experiences. That's a part, in my opinion, of celebrating self, allowing yourself the freedom to do so. Allow that material to settle in, let it percolate a little bit and see where you end up. That's our goal. It's a gift that we can give ourselves as we celebrate ourselves. I've given you a lot to think about here. I know that. And I would encourage you to think about just this whole idea of celebrating yourself. If you are challenged with having a little bit lower self esteem, if you are challenged with thinking that you are worthy or that you are enough, I am here to tell you that I am absolutely positive that every single one of you is worthy enough to celebrate yourselves. We have all persevered through so many things over our lives. We are persevering right now. Here we are. Here we go. We do it together. Celebrate, my friends. And so it is. Amen. And now I would invite you to get comfortable wherever you're seated. We'll do a little short meditation on this and see where these thoughts and ideas take us. You'll please say the meditation affirmation with me first, together. I am open and receptive to the spirit of truth, healing in me what needs to be healed and revealing to me what needs to be revealed. And so I invite you to get comfortable where you're seated. Take a deep, deep breath. And as you exhale out, feel your body just relaxing into the chair. Filling your body with that needed oxygen. Feels good to just let your body rest. May the words that I speak now be the words of your own heart. I am wholeness. I am awake to the infinite power within me. I am divine love in expression. I feel the joy of freedom in my heart. My mind is open. My heart is open. And I am willingly committed to considering all possibilities. I am open to celebrating self. The more I practice this celebration, the more there will be for me to celebrate. I am awake and alert. I am mindful of all that is going on around me. I am blessed beyond measure. I'm excited to see What will awaken within me? There are lessons in the chaos, but there are blessings as well. I am committed to celebrating self. I am worthy of the celebration, and I embrace it. Thank you, sweet spirit. And so it is. Amen. Now, before you open your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, allowing yourself to come back to this place and this time. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes.